Shalom and greetings from Jerusalem, Jane, and Shabbat Shalom. I want to give you a current news update the best that I can with my little fragile voice. And I want to say, if you hear children in the background, it's because over here they have 4 children and on the other side they have 7. And naturally it's Shabbat and they're home and they're using their balconies as playgrounds in the midst of also being able to hear the Israeli Air Force flying over Jerusalem on their way to carry out more strikes in Iran. Israel began attacking nuclear facilities early Friday morning, and I've been shared about that extensively, so you can look at all my posts. I'm not going to go into now all the names and the ranks of all the people we took out and the different sites, except to just say I am flabbergasted. And I am in awe of the Israeli Mossad. I have to say, the Israeli intelligence agencies in Israel, I'm telling you, there's not anything in Iran they don't know. Of course, they also have people inside Iran who is providing a lot of this invaluable intelligence. So what has it been like to be here in Israel? Well, we got that notification early Friday morning that Israel had started this, and we were now in a state of emergency and we need to prepare for retaliation. So already then you have to stay close to your bomb shelters, and all work was canceled, schools, everything was canceled, gatherings was canceled on Friday. I was next door stocking up on some of the things I needed, like many other Israelis, and then we have had to stay home. So it started with around 100 drones that was fired at Israel from Iran, and they were taking down with the help of the Jordanians and with the help of the Americans and the Israeli Air Force, that was taken down actually outside Israeli airspace. So that was it, and then there was a long kind of pause, and then started the early warning that Iran has now fired ballistic missiles. So they have fired a little bit more than 200 ballistic missiles into Israel in 4 rounds of attacks. What's it like? Well, I was thinking, because every time I go to my balcony and I watch and I film, because I want the world to see what it's like, and when you're standing there and you're just looking at it, it's pretty, they light up the sky, it's pretty if you don't know how deadly it is. So if you're just looking at it, it's pretty. But when you have the red alert blasting, when you have the siren blasting, and then comes the thunder and the very loud explosions of the interception, then you know how lethal this is and how dangerous it is. And it is with great sadness that I have to report that 3 Israelis has been killed in these ballistic missiles attack coming from Yemen. So like I said, I ran to my balcony and I was filming, and all of a sudden they just started coming, and you have seen my video I shared, they were coming from that direction towards me, just flying over my head. Then in another video they were coming over here on my left side, and then later on they were coming from a complete different direction. And of course it's lethal, it's deadly. So 3 Israelis has been killed in these attacks, and about 70 people have been injured. The latest attack, we didn't get the early warning, and all of a sudden they just started flying, and that was early this morning when I was actually sitting on my balcony, and I didn't hear the alert or anything, and all of a sudden they started flying. And that's where there were direct hits in several cities in Israel, and there was direct hits in houses, massive devastation. I mean, cars were blown up, and houses, and directed in houses, and in this particularly barrage this morning, 2 Israelis was killed by these ballistic missiles. So it's When I went to bed last night, I took a hot shower actually to take into my muscles and my neck, and I went to bed, and then I barely slept, and then there was red alert, but that was drones coming down in the south, and then I was almost asleep, and then we had the ballistic missile, and I was filming out on my balcony. This is not something that you will ever get used to, nor should it be anything that you will ever get used to. So 200 ballistic missiles, 100 drones just on that Friday night, and then also several drones came from Iran this morning actually. So around 25% was not intercepted according to protocol. And a small number of these missiles made it through air defenses and caused casualties and damages, including in residential areas in Tel Aviv, Ramat Gan, and Rishon LeZion, and that's where the 2 people were killed. The military is out saying that all of its bases, including air bases, are operating as usual with no harm to their functionality. And several drones was also intercepted overnight. It has been extensive destruction across residential area. Buildings have been heavily damaged, rubble scattered and shattered streets. So this is just... I'm sending my deepest condolences to the families of the 3 Israelis who has been killed in these attacks, and I'm hoping and praying for a quick and speedy recovery for the people who have been injured, and several of them have been severely injured. It just came out now for the Israeli military that the IDF eliminated 9 senior scientists and experts in the Iranian nuclear project. I'm not going to try and pronounce their name because I can't do it. But yesterday, Israeli Air Force fighter jets guided by Intelligence Directorate simultaneously struck dozens of targets across Iran as part of a large-scale operating salvo of the operation. So that is just incredible. So following this destruction of missile defense batteries near Tehran, the Israeli Air Force now has been granted freedom on flight over Israel's capital, with claims of over 400 components targeted across 150 locations in Iran, including significant destruction of the nuclear facilities in 2 different places. So Israel has literally taken out their air defense system, so Israeli planes can now fly unhindered. So the road to Tehran has now been paved. It's extraordinary. Of course, it also comes with what we did to Hezbollah, that the way has been made. So Israel's defense minister is saying says that he warns Iran's leader Khamenei that if missiles continue to be fired at Israel, Tehran will burn. The Iranian dictator is turning the citizens of Iran into hostages and creating a reality in which they, especially the residents of Tehran, will pay a heavy price for the criminal attack on Israeli civilians. And then he says, if Khamenei continues to fire missiles at the Israeli home front, Tehran will burn. So, given all of this is going on, the Israeli military has called up the headquarters of the 146th Reserve Division, along with the Iron Fist and Escalation, I hope I'm saying that right, reserve brigades, to serve as backup forces for various scenarios on the northern border. Several other reserve battalions were called up as deployment to Lebanon and Syria border, and they have also increased their forces and presence in Judea and Samaria. And on top of this, Border Police has recruited the mobilization of 7 reserve companies and 6 active units of Border Police volunteers, with effort focused on counter countering terrorism, maintaining public order, and protecting communities as part of special training operation. I hope you got all of that. I'm a little tired, so I needed to use notes. So I want to end by saying this. If you watch the mainstream media, who was very, very busy of building up, oh, now there's a rift between the leader of America and there's a rift between the leader of Israel and blah, 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 and this headline and this headline, and Israel want to attack and America saying hold back. You know what? So much is going on behind the scenes that we don't hear. And this current administration, which is a great friend of Israel, allowed the weapons to come in that Israel needed in order to carry out this attack. So there has been a lot of going on behind the scenes. They're doing one thing and then another thing has been said in public, and you can rest assured that there's no strife or rift between these two leaders. On the contrary, and they spoke together last night. Israel has been planning this attack on Iran for years and years and years. 1 or 2 ballistic missiles will eradicate the Jewish state. That's all it takes. And they were racing to have 15 nuclear warheads. So this is something Israel has been preparing for, with the Mossad operating deep, deep behind enemy lines. The Israeli military and the Air Force has been practicing and practicing and practicing all of this. And the time came. The time, it was now. We are not going to sit and wait for them to turn the Jewish homelands into rubbles to carry out another Holocaust. And the administration in America knew this, and the Netanyahu was even out saying, oh, he's going on the north to a vacation, while at the same time he was actually in the bunkers, fully aware that this attack was going to happen. So Israel is plundering and plastering all over Iran. They took out the Air Force commanders, the leaders, all of these top generals, scientists. It has just been incredible to see. Israel knew exactly where they were, what bunkers they were hiding in, what apartments what penthouse they were living in. It's just extraordinary, Mossad and the intelligence agencies that we have here in Israel. So naturally, yeah, I'm tired. I look tired. It's hot here in Israel. And like I said, we haven't been able to leave our house because either we had to stay close to our bomb shelters or we had literally to be in our bomb shelters. But that just ended now. So now we are allowed to take a walk, and let's see tomorrow morning if people can go to work and if we can go do shopping, which I need to do. So people are saying, are you afraid, and don't you need to be in a bomb shelter? You are out filming, and of course, if anything gets too close to where I'm at, of course, I will seek cover. But so far, it's been okay. But I have to say, at some point, the explosions were so massive that my balcony, it was shaking. Very, very loud, very, very loud. And like I said, these are deadly. Is it over? Absolutely not. This is just the beginning. The road to Tehran has been paved, and now Israel can really go in and do some serious damage to wipe all of this out, so they don't have the I can't even say it, that's how tired I am. They don't have the chance of carrying out these attacks to eradicate the Jewish state. So we also had 2 rockets flying in from Gaza. That was flying from Gaza this morning, but they fell inside Gaza. Then in 48 hours, it started with a ballistic missile from Yemen, 100 drones from Iran, 200 ballistic missiles from Iran, more drones this morning, and then rockets. And this is the reality that we are living on, and have been living on and off with all of these rockets from Gaza. And look what we had to endure from Hezbollah before Israel completely wiped them out. Israel took out the leadership of Hezbollah. Israel took out the leadership of Hamas, and now they crushed them in Iran. So it's just remarkable. I mean, this country takes my breath away. We are not talking about the mighty Russian bear who is doing what Israel is doing now. We are not talking about the might of the American military. We are talking about tiny little Israel. This is not bigger than this pinky here. I mean, Israel is smaller than Denmark, where I was born and raised. It's this little land who is doing all of that. How can that be? Well, that's because they have the upper hand. God is up here, and he's with his nation, and he's with his people. And God is just faithful, and his word stands forever, and his promises stands forever. And what this nation has accomplished is just remarkable. It continues to take my breath away. But this is not over. This is not over. This could be another week. It could maybe be more than a week before this is over. And again, we don't know how much it's going to escalate. So 3 people have been killed here in Israel. My deepest condolences. It's really, really heartbreaking and devastating. About 70 people have been injured when there has been direct hit from these ballistic missiles. So pray for Israel for such a time as this. It's Shabbat, it's hot. We got the all clear, so I think I'm just going to go down on my couch now. And thank you for praying for me and those who was asking, how are you? I'm tired. And you know, if you say it doesn't affect you, you're lying. It does, consciously or unconsciously, or you know, whatever you want to admit it or not, of course it does. But I'm okay. Shabbat Shalom. Bye.